Okay, welcome to another War of Rights map overview. Today we're taking a look at another contention map. This one is Farmlands, which is it's pretty much Hooker's Push with a little bit more. And so remember, in contention there are 6 points, and each side races to capture whatever the active point is. It doesn't repeat, and it spawns randomly, and they raise their flag and they hold it there for a certain amount of time. It will take the other side down a morale stage. And so that is it. We are starting off on the Union side of things. The Union artillery is right over there on that hill, or that little rise, and it's pointed out towards, well, the CSA already. But let's start with other things. And by the way, yeah, that's Nicodemus Hill, if you're just kind of wondering how to orient yourself. We have the cornfield and the devs. That's a point. So yeah. All right. I don't know who's advantaged by that. I would say it's not one I'd want to defend, and if I had to attack it, okay. I mean, I guess my chances are as good as anybody else, but it is closer to Union spawn and Union already. Second point is there again. These are not in the order they'll necessarily spawn. It's just the order I'm covering them. This third one here is pretty much out in the middle of the field. Again, if you recall the Hooker's Push map, this is pretty much Cap Rocks on Hooker's Push looking into Miller's Cornfield. Over here we have what's going to be our fourth point. We see that is the Lone Tree on Hagerstown Turnpike. And so if you remember that map there, that is. So that was 4. This is 5. And so now we're getting closer to, we're a little bit out of bounds for it, but this is the Dunker Church map and the Burning Mooma Farm. That's an easy point to reference yourself. But if you know the Dunker Church map, when the Union goes far right, this is the fence they go down to get into the woods on the Union right, CSA left. That's where this 5th one is. And then the 6th point is the Dunker Church. Yep. And pretty much the southeastern boundary is pretty much where it is on the Dunker Church map. And like Dunker Church here, just there we go. So, and like Dunker Church, you can go a ways into the woods here on the west side of the battlefield, and that's going to be true all the way down. It is not really true. I don't know. I was flying just above it on the east side over there. You might be able to make it into like the first set of trees, or you would time out just outside it. And so it's not a fantastic place, but you can see that we're in the woods, we're not timing out. And so on the west side, that's a concealment. I generally think of woods as a concealment and cover bonus for attackers, because it allows them to hide their numbers, to move through without getting easy shots on them. Of course, they have defenses and all the other stuff. Here's that little rise from the Hagerstown Turnpike map. And so, of course, controlling this rise, I haven't really got into kind of what I think is an advantage point or not, but controlling this isn't bad, but it's not as good as it is in Hagerstown Turnpike, because you can get units who can come deep through the woods here and shoot you in the side. But still, all things being equal, it'd be nice to control this rise, but we are very, very close to Union artillery and closer to Union spawn, and so we would expect... that is Union artillery, so yeah, we are very close to it. It's a big old no man's land in the middle, right, with this point, and I would say, so if this is supposed to be one of the neutral points, or the most neutral of points, this one and this one over here, right, it's a lot of open ground. Union already, just like it is sometimes in Hagerstown, but a lot more of it, and it starts sooner, is right up on that hill. CSA already, I don't think we looked at, but it's in a comparably good position. I think the batteries are really well positioned to influence 2 points in particular: the Hooker's Push Cap Rocks, and then pretty much the Hagerstown Turnpike. It's not quite the same point of contention. It's a little bit further south, but that point, that is right there. Nonetheless, holding the fence, it's something more than nothing. Being in the woods, because you can be in the woods, is going to be key, right? If you're able to hold kind of where this area jets out, you're able to influence that much more pressure over this. I think whoever gets here first is probably in a strong position. I think even if the Union is able to work over here behind CSA Artie, while the Union Artie shoots into any defenders who might be here, I think this is a very difficult position to attack because it's largely open ground around it. Again, if you kind of remember the Dunkers Church map, you'll get some concealment, and there are some rock clumps that you can use to attack this. But this is one where you can kind of cap it, and then as a defender, you don't have to sit on it, but you can flex over to some of these other places, right? Your artillery's up here. If you want to station infantry that might be a little bit obscured, you can put them there. You can put them on the rocks behind the artillery. You can put them on the fixed caissons. And from this CSA, I'll call it the CSA Artie position, there is just not much that's going to be able to come through without being harried. Now, over here, I guess this would be the Eastwoods. And right, the Eastwoods skirmish map looks familiar. How far can we? Oh, yeah. So it's almost like Hooker's Push in that sense, where you can get very close and flirt with that boundary. But it looks like it's the tree line that is going to be the boundary for the Eastwoods. And so we get a little bit of a rock outcropping out here, but it's really too far to do much. You'd have to come through that cornfield with big numbers, try to hide your flag, and because the CSA Artie is up on this rise, I think that's going to be a tall order. So as I think it can be in a lot of contention maps, right? There are the home objectives, and how favorable are those. As I felt with a previous contention video, I don't feel that this is particularly good for the Union, even though it's one of their home objectives, because there's nothing but concealment, okay, I know, and a rock clump around it. Both sides feel like they have an equal advantage, except it's closer to Union spawn, and Union Artie arguably has a good shot, but CSA Artie can shoot down into a cornfield at a giant post easily as well, right? It doesn't take all that much skill. If we look back at CSA Artie, right, we can see it. We can see they're just rendering in. They also have excellent eyes on this, and so I think that's a pretty good advantage for them. In terms of defending this, you'd probably want to... This also feels like a tough one to defend, and it kind of feels like how the Union had to deal with it on framing fence lines. If you try to defend from up here, you're likely to get rushed up from the corn, so I think the plan is to cap and then use the fence, the rock, and then your own artillery hill here to defend it against any counterattacks. But even then, the CSA can get very close with a lot of folks because of the concealment of the corn. It's not quite the same in reverse. The Union can do that to the CSA on the Dunker Church side by using the forest. But the second to last point that we saw back there, the one that is closest to the Cook's countercharge map, this one right here, this one, it feels far more defensible. Right, you got open ground, and you have places where you can grab cover if you are the CSA and you get to defend this. Of course, since you don't know the order in which they spawn, right, we're assuming who's the defender and who's the attacker just on by where the default spawn is. To get to this point, oh, we already covered this point, right? You would want to try to control the road and really the tree line. And for this one, it's going to be a little bit like Hooker's Push, and that if you can control the fence line of the corn, that first rock outcropping, you have a good chance to get here. The CSA, for their part, though, again, I'm assuming that would be the Union doing that. The CSA, they have their battery right there, and they also have those back rocks that they also have on Hooker's Push. And so it's probably not much of an advantage for the Union. So anyways, those are the features. Remember, you've seen these points on the skirmish maps that we've had already, and I think that can do it. Again, when I did this for framing fence lines, I talked about a key point that you might want to think about holding to try to influence the map. I really like the default CSA Artie position. It's on a rise, it's in the open, so it's hard for infantry to run up on it. It has good eyes on 3 of the middle points, and I guess you can also consider Miller's Cornfield because it's signposting where it is. It's really the 4th neutral point there. And so I think CSA Artie has good sights. Union does as well. Yeah, and I think I'll let that be that for Farmland.